Good afternoon and welcome to Deepblocks weekly webinar. Appreciate you taking the time to join us as this week we explore searching for vacant land in Orlando, Florida. My name is Michael Cavone. I am the Chief Revenue Officer of Deepblocks, and I will be walking through this webinar with you today. We're just going to wait a few more minutes, let some more people join us today. Jump on before we get started and dive into this part of Orlando and scan for vacant land and seek development opportunities. Again, I do thank you for taking the time to join us for this week's webinar. If at any time you have any questions or want to cover a certain area, please feel free to use the chat and send me your question. Also, please feel free to email me at the end of the webinar at michael@deepblocks.com, which I'll enter into the chat if you have any specific questions. Or, as I mentioned each week, if you want to do a one-on-one demo or discuss the platform in more detail and go in a deeper dive, a larger scope, again, feel free to always reach out to me. And we have one question: do we need to open Deepblocks? You can just watch and I'm going to actually share my screen in a few minutes, and you can just watch from your laptop, and we'll go through the session together as we explore Orlando, Florida. So I will share my screen now. But again, I do thank everyone for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us. So as you can see on my screen right now, we're at deepblocks.com. This is where you can find many helpful pages. Here you'll find our cities section, which will show you all the markets that we currently are in with zoning data. Right now we're in 45 markets throughout the United States with zoning data. Then we also have 1,000 cities with parcel level information. Additionally, we also have market data that is represented throughout the entire country. So that is our main premise at Deepblocks, that we converge various data sets from zoning data, parcel level data, and market data into one interface, and trying to streamline that process to find that real estate development opportunity. The software is set up in two different interfaces. The front end is a market scanner, allowing you to quickly scan through thousands and thousands of parcels and find a handful of parcels that meet your criteria for development opportunities. And then the back end interface is a 3D modeler, and where you can do a preliminary underwriting of multifamily, retail, office, industrial, or mixed use, and go through various scenarios and iterations of a particular development play to evaluate what makes the most sense for your particular investment opportunity and validate that decision. And again, we're seeing our users save about 90% of their time from going from their old way of doing things to this new way of using Deepblocks, just because it's not only saving time, it's also saving money, allowing them to avoid paying certain fees, and just from consultants to different architects, and just focusing on and going through this process, this pre-construction phase, to really understand what makes the most sense for development. So with that said, let's get started here. Again, I do appreciate everyone joining us today. As I mentioned, if you do have any additional questions, feel free to use the Q&A or the chat, and I will do my best to answer your question. If you have any questions after we are finished, please feel free to email me at michael@deepblocks.com. So as I mentioned, deepblocks.com, this is our main site. It goes through a good amount of information explaining what we're about and what we do. As I just showed you, these are the cities that we represent throughout the country. The red dots represent all the cities we have zoning data. And the blue dots represent all the cities we have parcel level data. We're going to be adding another 57 cities in coming weeks, so we'll be up to 100 cities, and our goal is to be at 800 cities by the end of the year with zoning data. So we're in a very good position to continue to build and scale out and reach new markets throughout the country. We do upload all the webinars on our website, so if you do miss the webinar or have to cut out short or cut out early, please feel free to go to the webinar section, or you can email me and I can send you the link. We also have tutorials, which are great. These are 60-second clips going through key functionalities of the website, and they're very, very helpful. Here's our pricing. Right now we're at $18,000 annually. This price will be going up shortly as we continue to add cities. It'll probably be at $27,000 in coming months, and then $36,000 by the end of the year. So this is a good time to get in at $18,000. You would be grandfathered into that pricing from here on out and for the years to come. So tremendous opportunity to get in with Deepblocks. So with that being said, let's jump into our particular segment today, which is searching Orlando, Florida for vacant land, looking for development opportunities. So I just entered my dashboard. We're going to go right into the search engine of Deepblocks. I'm going to type in Orlando, Florida. It pops right up, and we're going to begin our search. So a couple key things I like to mention when you're using Deepblocks. We like to always recommend using Google Chrome. Our platform works very well on Chrome. Another thing I like to mention is I always tend to zoom to about 80% to get. The reason I do that is instead of being at 100%, 80% allows me to capture as many parcels as possible in my viewport. The more parcels we can capture in the viewport, the better off we can scan the market, truly evaluate a certain area and look for these development opportunities. Another suggestion as well is I like to zoom out with my mouse. Zoom out as far as possible. If you zoom too far out, you'll notice what will happen is the blue lines will disappear and the market scanner and the search engine will not operate. So you must make sure you can see those blue outlines for other parcels so that you can use. So right here, you'll see right now, I zoomed out a little too far, so I need to zoom back in a bit. And by doing that, you'll see now the parcels reappear. I'm going to maximize my market scanner, and now my search engine and our different fields appear. Just quickly going through the interface. On this section is our tools section. You can search in the current mode, or you can turn on our satellite layer. I like to use a satellite layer a little bit towards the end of my search so I can really understand what is appearing on these different parcels. This is your select parcel tool, is your assemblage tool, which allows you to select multiple parcels. Our draw parcel tool, you can basically draw a parcel anywhere throughout the country and evaluate certain types of massings and modelings to do financial analysis. We actually just recently added this feature, copy drawn parcels. So if you're going to build, say, a little community or some townhomes, you now can just draw one parcel and then copy that parcel and paste it into a bigger parcel so you can show, say, 10 or 12 different townhomes or 10 or 12 different single family homes, whatever it may be. You no longer have to draw each one out individually. So we can now copy and paste that. It's a very, very helpful feature, extremely beneficial. So heading down, this again is our market scanner. This is pretty much the driver behind this particular interface of this front end. You can search by zone and district if you know it. Uses allowed, which is a little more general and a little bit easier to search by. And then here's all your refinement tools, so you can really reduce those and narrow down your research results. So one of the things we're going to look at first, let's get an idea of how many parcels we're looking at in this particular viewport. And when I say viewport, that's pretty much whatever is within our screen and our frame at the moment. Again, you can always move your screen north, south, east, or west, and the software will automatically update and show you the latest results. Currently, we have 5,200 parcels matching that are just basically, I'm pretty much highlighting everything in this viewport just to get an idea of what we're seeing. All right, so the next thing I want to do is we're going to try, because again, the whole concept of this webinar is to look for vacant land throughout Orlando. And the way we do this is by going to our existing building area slider. Instead of looking for a particular size for existing building area, we're going to look for 0 and then 0 again. And what this enables us to do is look for just vacant parcels of land. So right now we're at 877 parcels. We just went from over 5,000 parcels within our viewport down to 877 parcels that match as vacant land in the city of Orlando. So we're off to a really good start. And again, quickly just beginning to identify where we could have vacant land development opportunities. So Another thing I would like to do is try several different types of uses allowed. So for instance, if we're looking for vacant land and possibly a hotel, that's again for the land to be zoned for building a hotel or a motel, we're down to 73 parcels. So again, simply from going from 5,000 parcels down to 73 parcels, we have parcels that match, that are vacant land, and again, zoned for hotels and motels. Great feature we have here is you can export CSV, these 73 listings, and begin your cross-reference process, your search process, and you'll basically receive all the legal addresses of those parcels, along with the 15 other columns of data tied to those parcels. Some other uses allowed we can look for, let's say, let's try light manufacturing, which is also correlates to industrial. And we have 44 parcels matching within this viewport throughout. Anything again in the teal represents parcels that are matching. So once again, we have 44 parcels that are light manufacturing, aka industrial, that are the vacant land is zoned for these types of uses allowed. Another one we can try is multifamily. Let's see. So we have 155 parcels matching that are zoned for multifamily on vacant land. So this is a pretty good amount of parcels again. So we just went from 5,000 parcels down to much lesser count of parcels, and we're starting to identify these parcels based on uses allowed. We do have a question, and the question is, can you show? Absolutely, and that's actually my next step. You beat me to it, but it's a very good question. The question was, can you show multifamily for larger units, 200 plus units? And absolutely, and that's actually literally the next step I was going to take. And the way you do it on the market scanners, you go down to units allowed right here, and we'll put 200 in. And right now, you'll notice that we have 4 parcels matching that are zoned for multifamily that also allow for 200 plus units. And there's these 4 parcels right here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that's actually perfect because it kind of drives home what I'm trying to accomplish here. We just went again from 5,000 parcels down to 4, where we're zoned for multifamily on vacant land, and units allowed is greater than 200. So kind of the next step after you really hone in and refine that your search to these certain specific results, our users like to go to the map layers. And the map layers are very beneficial in terms of understanding the marketplace and the different segments of a market or the census tract of a market. So just for instance, some of the buttons we have opportunity zone you can turn on. None of these parcels do fall in the opportunity zone, but again, this is a layer that is represented throughout the entire country, and you can understand what opportunities would lie in this particular zone. We show zoning density, which is very similar to the units allowed. So basically, and just keep in mind, any layers that we show here are represented in our map legend and broken down. Basically, we show how we source this data as well as how the data is represented on the particular interface. So for instance, zoning densities, you go, this is in alphabetical order, you go down to the legend, and you'll notice anything that red is greater than 100 units. So anything red is a higher density, is a zone for higher density, and anything in orange is medium density, then yellow is low density. And one way of really utilizing the zoning density layer is that you can even zoom out to even more macro level and really try to find these certain pockets and understand again where the certain areas more dense versus other areas. Moving on, some other very helpful tabs. We have our people tab. This is based on census data from 2010 through 2018. We're currently working on retrieving all the 2020 census data, so we'll have this updated shortly to go through 2020, but at the moment we have it through 2018. And just to give you an idea, these buttons right here are heat maps. So for instance, if we want to look at median income, to get an idea of these 4 parcels where they're represented in terms of median income, they're falling into the $40,000 median income range. So, solid income. These could be perfect land development opportunities for multifamily at a certain price range. We can look at the median rent that's being charged in these particular census tracts. So you'll see right here, this is the median rent in this particular area, again, with these 4 different parcels of $11.85. So, relatively solid rent that you can charge for that multifamily play. So let's actually go in a little bit more. Well, before I go to the micro level, let's actually go on to some other layers that our users deem very beneficial. We can look at, here's residential rates. This is based on our machine learning. This is dollar per square foot, and this is $1.95 per square foot of residential rates you can charge. We also have a retail layer, which is pretty helpful, especially if you're building a multifamily. You kind of understand local business in the area, some of the traffic count in the area, and just get an idea. This is really where a place to build and develop. So, for instance, here are local businesses tab. You'll see all of businesses in these represented with these orange dots, and not as many businesses here. So maybe one of these multifamily plays might be a mixed use multifamily with some retail to help bring a little bit more retail activity to that particular area. As you can see right here, might be another good opportunity for multifamily retailing, especially this one over here. This over here doesn't have as much retail action, and so again, any four of these really could be a good opportunity for multifamily or multifamily with a retail. And we'll go into that portion of the preliminary underwriting in a few minutes. You can also look at a traffic count and get an idea of the traffic flow through these particular areas. Again, they're represented right here in the map legend, which is right here. So you'll notice the red is obviously the highest amount of traffic going through, but as you notice, this green here, we're looking at probably 6,300 to 15,000, and pretty similar for the other parcels as well. This one might have a little more traffic with the yellow, so this could be, again, a little more beneficial in terms of doing multifamily and mixed use. Sorry, mixed use for multifamily and retail. So that being said, one layer I like to always go into is back to the people layer and look at these demographic trends to really understand more at a micro level what we're looking at. And as I zoom in, here's our 4 parcels that are based on, again, vacant land. They're multifamily, and we have greater than 200 units allowed. What we can look at is these different trends here, which I will show you how they work. So as you put your mouse over these different colored boxes, they will appear for different census tracts. So these actually fall on that census tract 189. So I can turn these off, and we can focus on the graph line of 189. So population was on a strong incline, a little bit of a decline in recent years, but again, still relatively strong and at a better point here than it was about 8 years ago. So a pretty good indication of population. We can look at employment per population versus the United States. Again, we're focusing on that 189. As I mentioned, you put your mouse over that box, it shades over those 4 parcels. Now, as we can see, employment per population, strong incline, kind of flatten out a little bit, but then again, on a nice incline in recent years. So that's a very good indicator, and it's beating the U.S. average too quite a bit. So another a good sign for possible development play. We can look at median gross rent, and we'll turn 102, and let's focus on, again, the 189. Median gross rent staying relatively flat, so it's not going down, a little bit on the incline. So again, that's a decent indicator. And lastly, we have our median household income. You'll notice that this a little bit on a decline versus the U.S. average. But however, it seems like for the most part, we have some good opportunities here to develop. So let's take a little bit of a closer look and understand what parcels we are searching. So let's go down to this one, for instance. And then the next step basically is, after we look at these 4 parcels, is to kind of do the preliminary underlay. So I'm just going to go through one scenario, give you an idea of what we can do. And the first thing that does occur, when you select the parcels, you get all your property info right here. We show some key demographic information. We give you the address, lot size. As I mentioned, it's vacant land. That's what we were searching for in the beginning of our process. Here's our market value. Here's our ownership, owner's name. And then we go into what we key pieces of our information is the zoning information. We show you the buildable area at 91,000. FAR is 1. Units allowed, 2 are intent. So again, it's greater than that 200 units that we originally were seeking. We have parking by use, general uses allowed, and then it does a real specific breakdown of the uses as well. And then we have our setbacks. Another pretty interesting features are street view, so we can click on this and kind of get an idea of what truly exists on this particular parcel. And yeah, it looks like we do have vacant land here. So this is perfect. I believe it's right here. Yeah, here it is. So it's a nice corner lot. And let's just, for the sake of this example, let's proceed with this and go to the preliminary underwriting stage. So at this point, we can now select the property use. And like I mentioned, we could do multifamily. And I say we throw some retail on top. I think it makes the most sense for this particular area. And as I select those two uses, the software is calculating and developing our 3D massing and modeling and model of this particular multifamily and retail scenario. So as it loads, then we'll go through the steps of what you can do in this next interface. And this is, again, our financial analysis. And this is a 1 year back of the envelope return on cost. And again, as I mentioned, what this allows you to do is to really go through various iterations and truly understand scope and different scenarios that make the most sense for your investment, and to understand that return on cost. The tool set we have up here, again, you can turn the satellite layer on just to see this in the satellite layer. We can always we have an existing building layer over here just to get an idea of some buildings around this particular parcel. These are two great features: share project and copy project. So if there's multiple users that have licenses with Deepblocks, you can share project with your colleagues. They can adjust on their end, send it back to you. You can adjust on your end, and again, evaluate what makes the most sense for these particular potential development plays. Copy project allows you to, again, go through multiple iterations. If you want to look at it, right now we're looking at multifamily and retail. We can copy this project and then say, all right, let's look at just multifamily, or maybe possibly throw some multifamily, retail, and office into this. Considering it's an FAR 1, it might be difficult to throw any more layers into this particular parcel. And just always keep in mind, we bring over that property info, as I just showed in the previous interface, that does break down all the information of this parcel, so we can see our zoning limits and, again, understand different restrictions. I mean, the building height is can go up to 100 feet. So, and with 200 units allowed, we might be able to figure out a way to add more stories. So with this being said, the next step would be to kind of go through your building height. You got ground floor height, your typical floor height. We actually can put in different setbacks. The setbacks based on this, which is only a 10-foot setback, is required for the rear. But just to show you how the setback mode works, you can uniquely identify each side of the building and then adjust these setbacks accordingly. I'm going to leave these as B. I'll make this A, make this C, make that D. Actually, let's make this A. Make this D. All right, so we're going to exit our setback mode, and you'll see shortly what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some setback parameters in, and you'll see the modeling that will automatically update and change. So I'm going to put a 20-foot setback in the primary. You'll see that it bulks up. 20 there, 20 here. You'll see the building starts to change a bit. I'm going to put 20 there. Well, so all of a sudden now we have a second floor, and we're at 50 units at the moment, but we can go up to 200 units according to the zoning. So if the building height's up to 100 feet and the zoning's allowing for over 200 units, I'm assuming we can actually continue to build up. So with that being said, let's go into our assumptions and start adjusting the unit mix for multifamily. So right now we're at 50 units, 2 bedrooms. Let's add another 51 bedrooms. Actually, let's make this 75, make this 100, and we'll make this 40, because it's 215. So you can see right here, automatically adjust and shows you now we have a 5-story building with little retail on the bottom, 5.13 return on cost just at the current setup. So we bring in, so right now, and then you can adjust the gross buildable for each unit. So maybe we can say 650 might make more sense for a 1-bedroom, maybe 1100 for the 2-bedroom, and 1350 for the 3. And then we could enter a loss factor. We have an amenities we can put in, so maybe we'll do 5,000 square feet of amenities. And again, the building just continues to adjust based on your assumptions. Then we can adjust the income. This is looking at market sub-market values of this particular area, but again, we leave it flexible and allowing you to adjust and change it to whatever might cater more to your particular play and how you're looking to develop this. But let's say for 1-bedroom, we might only get 1,200. For the 2 bedrooms, maybe we'll get a little bit more at 2,200. The 3 bedrooms, maybe we'll get 2,750. So we're looking at a 5.14% return on cost. Vacancy rate, we'll leave at 4%. OpEx, we can maybe drop down to 30. Bring that up to 5.51. We can look at the project cost as well. But before I do that, we can adjust also the assumptions for the retail side. We can say that net leasable for retail is only going to be 15,000 square feet. So that'll bring it down a little bit. And we can leave the loss factor at 12. We can change the lease income. Maybe we can get $30 a square foot. Expense reimbursement, we'll leave at 12. We can change that vacancy as well and the OpEx, but I'll leave those alone for the time being. We can also put some parking in. Again, as the zoning shows you, we have parking requirements. And let's see, parking by use for residential is 0.75 2 space per unit. So we'll just put 1 in here, and we'll see parking go in with that gray layer right there. And for retail, it's 2.5, 3.5. But keep in mind, we can actually increase our setbacks, and we can put some parking in this on the ground floor as well for the retail. So we could also, again, adjust our setbacks and increase them a little bit more if we want to put and calculate to put some parking around the building and set that up for the retail. And lastly, we look at our project costs. So right now, the property purchase price is $4.7 million. Maybe we can get this for a little bit cheaper at $4.2 million. And that'll help our return on cost as well. We can, for vacant land, so maybe our demolition costs will be down to 0. You'll just notice as I adjust any assumption from the income side and the cost side, this automatically updates our KPIs. And as well, you'll see in the return analysis section, the back of the envelope automatically updates, shows you the income, goes down to your OpEx, and then eventually your RRC, which again matches this right here. You can see your assumptions broken down in detail from the FAR to the building height, where it's only 64 feet, which was allowing up to 100 feet. A lot coverage at 75%. Our footprint, 68,000 square feet. Open space area is 22, almost 22.9, which is again this pale green area around. And again, we can also adjust our hard cost here. So maybe we could do a little bit better than 181 and see if we can get it for $160 a square foot, and maybe the retail we can do for 130. So again, that's also going to help our ROC. And lastly, once you have full scope that you feel that you're comfortable with and want to share with your partners, or you want to present to possible investors or wherever it may be, we can export this report to a 4-page PDF file. We can enter who it's from, who it's going to, write a summary about this particular parcel and the potential development opportunity. We can upload an image of this particular parcel, or if you have a rendering you want to upload, you can upload your own company logo and adjust the color palettes of the report. So I'm going to generate the stock report just to quickly show you the 4-page PDF that gets created. It is again very helpful for sharing the potential opportunity with this parcel. And this is the great thing about these PDF reports. Again, like I mentioned, you can copy projects and we go through different iterations to see you have 2 or 3 iterations from multifamily retail, from different mixed use, different unit mixes for the multifamily, maybe a little bit bigger retail versus smaller retail. You can do these different iterations, export each one out, and then sit down and show these reports just to help better understand what might make the most sense in terms of developing on this parcel. So again, you can upload your own image here for this particular parcel. Your logo goes here. Your writing summary will replace the summary there. It would show who it was prepared by, who it was prepared for. Page 2 goes through some property info, zoning summary, and a stacking plan. And then we show the key demographic trends tied to this particular parcel in this market that it resides in. And lastly, that financial analysis, that 1 year back of the envelope return on cost. So again, just to kind of recap what we did today is, on the front end, went to Orlando, Florida, and went through a few different refinement sliders that you can check off. Look for vacant land, look for properties based on certain uses allowed. And again, in a matter of minutes, we went from 5,000 parcels to just a handful, from anywhere from industrial use to multifamily use, and just get an idea of where you really want to potentially build and develop on. We focused in on, once we kind of turned on that multifamily uses allowed, we then adjusted the unit density and said, I'm looking for units allowed at over 200. And again, seconds, we had 4 parcels that matched that criteria, and then took it the next step. Once we looked at those 4 parcels, we kind of studied different map layers to understand that marketplace, to see which one of those 4 makes the most sense. You could look at all 4, but I landed on this particular one. We took it to the preliminary underwriting and then began to build out our 3D modeling and massing, and again, adjusted some assumptions, and again, quickly kind of let you understand and evaluate this particular parcel and the potential play and development opportunity that you can create here. And again, the great thing about Deepblocks is our ability to streamline this process. As I mentioned, we're seeing tremendous time savings and cost savings with our product, with our user base. We continue to scale out. We're going to continue to add more features and truly take this product to the next level. We have a great amount of value in place at the moment, and it's only going to get better and better. And I just want to thank everyone for taking the time to join me this week, and look forward to meeting up with you next week. I do have a quick question. In more suburban areas, do you have a layer that shows a possibility of wetlands? At the moment, we do not, but we are working on layers in regards to sea level and climate change and certain things along those lines. In terms of wetlands, I'm sure it's something we can incorporate. We do work with our clients and users to bring in different layers that they might feel are more necessary for their process. So we always look at enhancing our platform with layers that might seem beneficial not only for the current user, but anyone that we're bringing on or future users. And can you import modeling diagrams from At the moment, no, we cannot import modeling diagrams from architects, with CAD. It is, again, something else we are looking to incorporate in our roadmap, is to upload data from our users so they can bring in their own data as one suggestion. But another thing is just allow people to start importing their modeling and their diagrams. We are looking to append a generative design interface at some point down the road, which would be applicable to the second interface that we were looking at, so you can really get into more details. So that would be a great point of importing some modeling and diagrams from architects. But it is a great suggestion. I really do appreciate that. And again, thank you everybody for your time. I do appreciate it, and I hope everyone has a great afternoon, and hope to see you again next week. Take care.